What is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm your host, Drew Hoover, and it has finally arrived, my 2021 NFL mock draft. And like I said, I've put a lot of work into this. I've been, doing this for a long time, the last few months, trying to get to know the players, especially these last 5 days. I have been working non-stop trying to, try to absorb all the information that I can get, really getting into the offensive and defensive schemes of these teams, especially the teams with new head coaches and coordinators and stuff. So I've been stressing over this, and I know it's not going to be perfect. Most of the use of mock draft is for fun, and for all you guys that know mock drafts, most of them won't turn out that well. Most of them won't even turn out 50% right, but I hope to do my best, and let's get started with the 2021 NFL mock draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now on the clock, and honestly, we have seen this for a while. And even though the Jacksonville Jaguars weren't seen to be the number one pick at the time, because remember, it used to be the New York Jets that originally were favored to be the number one overall pick. Obviously, when you had games like the one they had against the Browns, when the Browns, all the receiving corps had COVID, and they win that game, all of a sudden Jacksonville slips right in there. And it's funny because there were talks about Urban Meyer going to the Jets. People forget that. And people think, oh, it was always going to be Jacksonville. Well, I don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars chose Urban Meyer. Urban Myers chose Jacksonville. And I believe he chose Jacksonville is because they got the number one overall pick, and who everyone in the NFL knows who is going to be the number one overall pick. And so with the first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback from Clemson. And, they try to make it seem like it's, a mystery of who they're going to pick a quarterback. But really, it's not even close at the quarterback position when it comes to Trevor Lawrence. Man, you talk about being put into Urban Meyer's spread offense. You talk about being able to start a new career. I mean, he's already being part of the community, even though he has not been selected yet. But you talk about the combination of Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence. I feel like, man, I hope for great things from them too. And so now the New York Jets are now on the clock. And like I said before, they could have had that number one pick. They could have had Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer. But I think they're happy with what they got. They really have accepted the mentality that Robert Saleh, the former defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, has brought to the team. A lot of players have come to the Jets because of Robert Saleh, because of the promises, the attitude, the atmosphere that he's already brought to the team. And so the question has been what they do with quarterback. I've said before that we pretty much know that the first three picks in the draft are going to be quarterbacks. And so this pick has left a little bit of controversy, similar to the next pick, the 49ers pick. To be honest, it's pretty much been down between Zach Wilson, the quarterback from BYU, and Justin Fields, the Ohio State University. You have guys like Kyle Brandt from the NFL Network. You have guys like Brandon Marshall, who was a former wide receiver that spoke to ESPN saying, hey, Justin Fields should be the number 2 overall pick. And there's a big following towards him. And not to mention the other fact where you talk about Zach Wilson. Like I said, there was at one point where people liked Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence. But obviously, when you hear the reports that have come, some people are almost afraid of picking Zach Wilson at this point. Colin Cowherd on his Fox Sports radio show would say that out of all these quarterbacks, Zach Wilson screams bust. And so makes you wonder if they're making the right decision here. But the pick is in, And with the second pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Zach Wilson, quarterback from BYU. And honestly, I think Robert Saleh is just looking back to when he lost that Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs against Patrick Mahomes. Like I said, he brought the best defense to the table, and yet Patrick Mahomes does things that as a defensive coordinator, as a defense, you just can't plan for. And even though some of the things that Zach Wilson does is risky, his off-platform throws and stuff, I feel like, Robert Saleh feels like, hey, if a play breaks down, which by the way, that offensive line still needs room to improve, that this guy can improvise and make plays that, like I said, defy logic. And so even though there's a lot of risk for Zach Wilson right here, with Mike LaFleur and that offensive staff coming behind Zach Wilson, I think they believe that they can fix what they need to fix with Zach Wilson and hopefully, sets him apart from the rest of the AFC East. And so we are now at the 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers are now on the clock, and they traded up for number 12 to get to number 3. And again, the controversy, which now instead of Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, it's now between Mac Jones and Trey Lance. And to me, I've always been a Trey Lance fan. I've expressed how much I like this young man with his strong arm, his mobility, and you keep hearing about his intelligence from Peter Schrager. You talk about he's an all-around team player, but then you talk about Kyle Shanahan and what he specifically wants from a system. And Nate Burleson from Good Morning Football made an interesting point that he had been around some of these mobile quarterbacks before. RG3, when Mike Shanahan was the coach of the Redskins, he talked about his short-lived time in Cleveland when they had Johnny Manziel. So it could be the reason why he's afraid to gravitate towards these mobile quarterbacks like Trey Lance or Justin Fields. And you go with a quarterback like Matt Jones that, like I said, can just make an accurate throw and read the things. Even though he doesn't have a high ceiling, at least you know what you got, considering what, the mystery man that everyone's calling Trey Lance. And so the pick is in, and with the third pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Mac Jones, quarterback from Alabama. Again, you have a guy that just fits the system. I think people admit that they're getting the same thing as Jimmy Garoppolo, just healthier. But again, Jimmy Garoppolo did take him to the Super Bowl. I just don't know if it's enough to take him back to the Super Bowl and then win it when you consider the talent you have in the NFC West and considering who you'll be eventually facing in the Super Bowl. And now it's a number 4 pick, and the Atlanta Falcons are now on the clock. Now, I am doing trades in this mock draft, and I know it's hard to predict who's going to accept a trade or not. And with the Atlanta Falcons, it's really tempting, considering the fact that all the needs that you have specifically on the defensive side. And they brought back Dean Pease, the defensive corner who retired, who was with Tennessee, but they brought him out of retirement, and now they got all these defensive needs. So it's likely they could trade back to help build that defense for Dean Pease. But you look at Arthur Smith, man, the offense he likes to run is run heavy, and it's really favored towards the tight end, which is why Kyle Pitt's name has come up a lot in the last few weeks. They got a lot of needs on offensive line, though. I feel like, personally, I would like Penei Sewell. They could put him at the left guard beside Jake Matthews and stuff. I also, like I said, I've expressed before that I don't believe in the fact that they would draft a quarterback at this spot. I think if a team like the Patriots, like the Denver Broncos, and I'll even mention the Bears because the two general managers for the Falcons and the Bears used to be on the same staff for the New Orleans Saints from 2003 until general manager Ryan Pace took that job in Chicago in 2015. So I've heard they're very close friends, and even though it would take a lot to get up there, it could still be something that they would consider. But I think they're going to stay where they're at because the pick is in. And with the 4th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Kyle Pitts, tight end from Florida. Again, you talk about one of the most athletic tight ends we've seen in recent memory. Someone made the comparison to Darren Waller. I think of Vernon Davis, the tight end that was drafted by the 49ers, and the athletic things that he can do. And Kyle Pitts, who has been wide receiver before, and you talk about the possible trading of Julio Jones. I feel like he's going to be the eventual number 1 target alongside Calvin Ridley. And so we are now moving on to number 5. The Cincinnati Bengals are now on the clock, and man, they have 2 good choices right here. I think they've narrowed it down to Penei Sewell, offensive tackle from Oregon, and Jamar Chase, the wide receiver from LSU. Now, obviously, the intrigue with Chase is, like I said, they're reuniting him with Joe Burrow, who used to be his quarterback from LSU. I think he's also a good fit in Zach Taylor's offense with the spread West Coast thing they got going on right there. You also understand the Penei Sewell side, where the offensive line allowed 48 sacks last year. And so, they say that if he hadn't been injured, that they would go wide receiver at this point. But then yet again, there's still a lot of influence from that general manager position, who I've heard does like the wide receiver at that point. So now the pick is in. And with the 5th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU. And to me, when you have this kind of love triangle, you got to ask yourself, who can you live without? And to me, I feel like they can live without Penei Sewell. You talk about having that spread offense. Now you got Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and now T. Higgins. He can spread that ball out and have so many options. And especially if you can get these targets with one-on-one coverage, I feel like Jamar Chase could excel in Cincinnati. And now you have the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are now on the clock at number 6. And, everyone thinks they need to get a wide receiver. And everyone at least thought they would either get Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase at this point. They're not there. There's still the Alabama wide receivers to consider with Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. But an interesting development happened recently where, remember, the Washington football team traded Eric Flowers to the Miami Dolphins. And now the Miami Dolphins have just traded Eric Flowers back to the Washington football team. A very unusual turn of events, but it makes you wonder why. And I think the reason is because I think they know somewhere deep down that those 2 weapons won't be there at number 6, but they know this man will. And the pick is in, and with the 6th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Penei Sewell, offensive tackle from Oregon. Again, this is a pick that I don't think a lot of Miami Dolphins will like. A lot of people don't like offensive line picks, but when you talk about Chan Gailey's offense, when you talk about having to be able to run the zone runs and be able to run that run-pass option, I feel like this guy fits the need right there. You put him alongside Austin Jackson and all those other offensive linemen that they drafted last year. I think that this gives Tua Tagovailoa the protection that he needs to make smart decisions and advance the ball down the field. And I think there's so much depth at the wide receiver position this year. Obviously, you did pass up the Heisman winner. You did pass up Jalen Waddle. But I feel like with whatever weapons they decide to add, I think at least they have an offensive line at the end of the day. And so the Detroit Lions are now on the clock at the number 7th pick. And this has been one of the teams, again, that has been contemplating trading down. And like I said about this team before, I admire the fact that a lot of their coaching staff has been former players. Mark Brunell, Deuce Staley, Antoine Randall. Their defensive coordinator is Aaron Glenn. There's just there's just so many coaches that I feel like can relate to their team. Again, similar to Robert Saleh, you want to believe the hype that is going on in Detroit, but they need a wide receiver right there. They did sign Rashad Perryman and Tyrell Williams, who was with the Chargers and the Raiders the last few years. But they do feel like they need to address the wide receiver sometime in this draft. But at the same time, you look at that defensive side. When you talk about what they're going to do under the defense under Aaron Glenn, and honestly, there's been talks about giving them multiple looks, and so having that multiple hybrid defense and stuff, mostly doing cover 1 and cover 2. I feel like this defense, if you want to give multiple looks, then you have to draft a defensive player with a lot of versatility. And the pick is in. And with the 7th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Micah Parsons, linebacker from Penn State, a guy that can be used as a pass rusher, the guy that can run from sideline to sideline. And again, when you talk about, like I said, if they want to use a defense that can, like I said, tie to the players' traits, and like I said, be able to give offense different looks, I feel like Micah Parsons, whether it's in a 3-4 look or a 4-3 look, I feel like could benefit this defense tremendously. And again, you talk about Dan Campbell when he was in his press conference talking about looking for guys that could pop up in the mouth. I think Micah Parsons is something that I think could do just that. And now you're at the number 8th pick with the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are now on the clock. And so, they have defensive back needs right there. They've been, doing their research on defensive backs. There's also a tempting offer at offensive lineman with Rashawn Slater still available. And not to mention, you got wide receivers to choose from. You still have Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle right there. But here is the first trade in the 2021 NFL Draft. And, they've said that they are willing to trade down. But I don't believe that they want to trade down that far, because when you look at the talent that's still available, there's talent available around that area that addresses the needs that they have. So I feel like if they accept a trade from somebody, it's not going to be to drop that far. So the Carolina Panthers have traded the number 8th pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. And with the 8th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Trey Lance, quarterback from North Dakota State. And I think this shocks everybody, but yet there was the news that the Philadelphia Eagles were going to try to trade for either A, Kyle Pitts, or B, a quarterback. Obviously, the Kyle Pitts was selected at number 4, and when you look at the Nick Sirianni's press conference, he was saying that he thrives on competition, and that he hasn't assigned a starter at the quarterback position despite having Jalen Hurts from the starter from last year. Technically, Nick Sirianni hasn't drafted his own quarterback. Remember, Nick Sirianni was under Frank Reich when they had Philip Rivers, and their offensive coordinator also coached Philip Rivers with the Los Angeles Chargers, and also Justin Herbert. Both those guys have strong arms that can attack the ball vertically down the field. People question his accuracy. People question his experience. He's thrown less than 400 pass attempts in college. But I feel like, man, there's huge upside to have on this kid. And I feel like that is a pick worth getting at number 8. And now we're at the number 9 pick. And the Denver Broncos are now on the clock. And I feel like they really wanted Trey Lance, the quarterback. I feel like they'll even attempt to trade up to get him in the NFL Draft. But obviously the Philadelphia Eagles knew what they were doing, that the Panthers would be the last chance they would get at Trey Lance. And so I feel like if that happens, the Broncos will be looking to trade down. And there's a team that's looking to trade up that I feel like needs the need of an offensive tackle. So the 9th pick has been traded to the Minnesota Vikings. And with the 9th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle from Northwestern. To me, he's the best pass blocker in this draft. And people don't know this, but Vikings were part of the teams that were interested in getting Orlando Brown from the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, they didn't luck out, so I feel like they trade up to get an offensive lineman in the top 10. And you look at their opponents in the NFC North, the Packers with Preston Smith, Za'Darius Smith, and Rashawn Gary. You look at the Chicago Bears with Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn, and do not underestimate the Lions front seven as well. So I feel like with that pressure coming at the Minnesota Vikings, I feel like you need to get an offensive tackle, and Rashawn Slater is that. And so we're going to end this segment. Remember, I said I was going to split this into 3 parts. So this 10th pick will be the last one of this video, and the second and third part will be coming soon. So the Dallas Cowboys are now on the clock, and they got Dak Prescott back, and I feel like they're going to give him back healthy. They signed a deal, so I feel like they're mostly squared off on the offensive side, and they're hoping to improve a defense that has been mediocre for so long. And they hired Dan Quinn, who just got fired by the Atlanta Falcons. He's their new defensive coordinator, so he's hoping to implement that defense similar to Gus Bradley, who's the defensive coordinator for the Raiders right now, that base 4-3. And I feel like it starts at the defensive back position. They don't have a lot of depth right there. Dan Quinn did get his old safety, Kenyu Neal, the safety from the Atlanta Falcons. So they need to go defensive back position. Obviously, there's a lot of defensive backs that are good in this draft. In fact, all are still available right here. So I feel like, I mentioned before, Jerry Jones, when he likes a cornerback, he's not afraid to take it. I mentioned Byron Jones from UConn. I mentioned Morris Claiborne from LSU. And I don't think they can go wrong with either one of those guys, whether it's Patrick Surtain, whether it's Jason Horn. I'll even throw Greg Newsome in there, considering the fact that a lot of people say he's going to be drafted maybe within the top 15 or top 20 in this draft. So with the 10th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Patrick Surtain II, cornerback from Alabama. And you can't go wrong with this guy. This guy is smart. This guy is fast. This guy isn't afraid to make plays behind the line of scrimmage. And I feel like they get a great cornerback in Patrick Surtain. And, you talk about, just trying to get that defense back. Hopefully, they'll draft a defensive edge rusher sometime in this draft. I think a defensive lineman would be a stretch at this point. So I think just going with the best defensive back available is a smart decision for Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. So again, that is the first 10 picks. Please stay tuned for part 2, which will be picks 11 through 20. And then part 3 will be picks 21 through 32. Stay tuned, everybody. Alright guys, hope you liked my video. Don't forget to subscribe to Your Average Joes. Don't miss on any of my videos. Also, if you have any graphic design needs, go to Anthony Garcia. Check out his website, Anthony Garcia Design. His website will be in the description below.